members of the media, today I will deal with two issues: the range development and the comments made by the Prime Minister on the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. The St. Lucia Labour Party has been calling on the Prime Minister to provide full public disclosure on the proposed range development. We had learned that range development requested a settlement of about $20 million for costs incurred, and that this should have been settled by July the 1st. Apparently, by that date, there was no settlement, even after the Prime Minister had publicly accepted responsibility for the delays in the project. We would further learn that range developments had served the Attorney General a notice of intent to sue. This time, the claim would be for costs and aggravated damages and loss of profits for a total of over $100 million. We also had learned that in pursuance of the agreement with Range, the developer had brought in about 250 CIP applicants. Given each donation is $100,000 and less commissions, the developer expected about $20 million to be available. We asked then, why was the money not available to the developer? And of course, where is the CIP money? Accordingly, the Labour Party called for the following. One, that the Minister with Responsibility for Investment, Honourable Bradley Felix, and Mr. Pinkley Francis, Chairman of Invest St. Lucia, to make a public statement on the range development. Two, that the Prime Minister account for the CIP monies which had been earned since the launch of the program. And thirdly, that the Cabinet of Ministers make every effort to settle this matter with Range in the best interest of St. Lucia and avoid taxpayers having to be burdened with a decision of the court which may not be favorable to St. Lucia. So what has happened since we made that call? Honorable Bradley Felix and Pinkley Francis did not see it necessary to provide any explanation to the people of St. Lucia. Secondly, the Prime Minister explained to you, the media, that he had used the money thinking that he can use it until his Attorney General told him that this was wrong. But he also argued that he had permission to use the money. It makes no sense to state that you had permission as it was stated in the estimates, then say you were using it until your Attorney General told you and advised you otherwise. You cannot have it both ways. In the same comments, the Prime Minister contradicts himself over and over. It's either you have permission and therefore you rightfully use it, or you were using it until your Attorney General told you you should not be using it. What's the latest on range? Because we've heard no public explanation from the ministers, Invest St. Lucia, or the Prime Minister. We have now learned that Cabinet has agreed for the government to settle with Range and pay the sum of about $20 million. We have learned also that the agreement has already been signed with Range for the payment of $20 million EC. I have checked and we have learned that Range has already closed its offices in St. Lucia and relocated to St. Kitts, where they are planning to build a hotel. We've also learned that Range has removed the Black Bay project from its website. Yet, we've heard no official word or explanation from the government. Accordingly, we are asking the government to be accountable to the people of St. Lucia and inform all St. Lucians whether the government has in fact signed an agreement to settle $20 million with range development for its responsibility in the failed project. For a government action or inaction to destroy an investment project causing the people of St. Lucia to pay $20 million is a sad indictment. Worse, it is the second time that the Prime Minister has been involved in a fiasco involving Black Bay. The first fiasco costed the country about $60 million, which the St. Lucia Labour Party government had to pay, and now another $20 million. This government is a failure. Every single project it puts its hands on, it becomes tainted or grossly mismanaged. And every time it is the people of St. Lucia that have to pay the price. We cannot continue with such gross incompetence in government. We must mobilize and demonstrate our rejection of the UWP government. The failings of the UWP government is present in all areas of our national development. I want to take you to the comments made by the Prime Minister on Monday at the Cabinet briefing on the situation at Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. And you are members of the media were there, so you would be familiar with the statements made by the Prime Minister. These statements are a frightening statement on the thinking of the Prime Minister and his government. I started by telling you I recall my days as a student leader and a youth leader, when one of our main causes was to establish that education is a right, not a privilege. St. Lucia has moved on, and since universal secondary education, it is accepted that the state has an obligation to provide education to all in St. Lucia. We accept that at this stage, we cannot afford a full-fledged university, so we cannot yet provide accessible tertiary education for all. However, that must remain an aspiration in the medium and long term. But surely, the present-day reality must be that no child in St. Lucia that meets the matriculation requirements should be denied the chance to attend Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. Plain and simple. But let us reflect on the words of the Prime Minister. Firstly, the Prime Minister is of the view that the government is being generous to Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. This is an absurdity. Truth is, the government is not meeting its full obligation to Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. What is this about government being generous to Sir Arthur Lewis Community College? The school is part of our governmental education system, much like Cassius Comprehensive School, Leon Hill Secondary School, Ave Maria, and Camille Henry, to name a few schools. These schools are there to educate our children and our youth. It is not being generous, as if it is a favor. Are we being generous to our children when we feed them? No. It's a responsibility that we have. And the state has a responsibility to educate its children and its youth. Secondly, the Prime Minister says that Sir Arthur Lewis Community College is not yet self-sufficient and that they should be. We accept that Sir Arthur Lewis Community College should charge affordable fees to students. Affordable to ensure that there is access to every St. Lucian child who meets the matriculation requirements. For Sir Arthur Lewis to be self-sufficient, in the Prime Minister's own calculation, each child will have to pay $9,000 each year. $9,000 each year. Can St. Lucian children afford that? No. So it is for the government to provide the balance. The child pays X amount and government pays the balance. The same way that Cassius Comprehensive Secondary School, Leon Hayes Comprehensive Secondary School, Cicero Combined School, and Lacqua Mengo Combined School are not asked to be self-sufficient. So why does Sir Arthur Lewis Community College have to be self-sufficient? Since when schools that are built to educate our children and our youth are being asked to be self-sufficient? Thirdly, the Prime Minister says that the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College is not even paying rent. Paying rent? When did schools ever pay rent in St. Lucia? And to who? I've never heard of a school paying rent. Is this going to be a new government policy? Do the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College buildings even belong to the government or any private institution? Can the Minister of Education please inform the people of St. Lucia with clarification on this matter? Fourthly, and most frightened me from the Prime Minister, and I want to quote his direct words. He says, when the government changes its policy and anyone who wants to pursue post-secondary education, he would give them a scholarship of $3,000. Now, that means since it costs $9,000 for each child, then each child has to find $6,000 to attend Southwest Community College. Because it costs $9,000, he's going to give each of them, he said $5,000 students, $3,000 each. So if you thought the proposed fee increase was high, imagine your child having to find $6,000. Further, if the government is not going to subsidize the Southwest Community College and will only give scholarships, then who will be responsible for running Southwest Community College? Are there plans to privatize Southwest Community College? When will government change its policy? Are there local private colleges and schools that are lobbying government to offer scholarships instead of subsidizing Southwest Community College so they can now enroll their students? These are questions that have to be answered. Ladies and gentlemen, education is a right, not a privilege. Education is the most valuable tool for social mobility for the vast majority of St. Lucians. Most St. Lucians don't have the social connections nor the sponsors to elevate their lot in life. It is education that provides the tool for the average St. Lucian to become a lawyer, doctor, farmer, engineer, accountant, or manager. Most St. Lucians cannot afford to go to private school or boarding school. And therefore, as a people, we must protect the right of all our children and youth to get a tertiary education. Thank you very much.